Hi, hello, welcome everyone on behalf of Asia Pacific Institute of Management. Myself, Lenin Vinod, Assistant Professor in Tourism and Airline Management. Today we have with us two great, personalities and travelers who are, going to share their experience about their All India tour. And it is not just a kind of a tour that we plan in an usual way. Rather, they have taken it to the next level of getting and obtaining an Guinness World Record. And their motto on this particular travel is to promote tourism and promoting Dekho Apna Desh, which is an initiative by the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. And they are trying to exclusively explore all these tourist places of India by public transportation through buses, trains, flights, and things. Yep. And they are traveling around a distance of 34,500 kilometers across India. They'll be covering around 23 states and 4 union territories. So basically, they are crisscrossing the country through 34 trains, 18 buses, 8 flights in 70 days. And I think since we are in mid of the pandemic situation and in the lockdown, so they have now stopped their travel. I think probably they'll be starting their travel very soon, and we'll be discussing upon their experiences and how the tourism in India has changed in the recent days, and they are the right persons to speak about this particular topic on the ground reality also. Yes, I welcome both of you for the webinar session. Adams and Raj and Dileepan, and to specifically say that they both are from they both are from Pondicherry University, and likely they are my PG seniors. They both are my super. One is my super senior, and then one is my immediate senior, so we are closely related also. Yes, and I also extend a warm welcome to both of you. And shall we get into the topic of the discussion right now? Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So before we start, I would thank you, Lenin, and the Asia Pacific Institute for having us here, and we are really happy and delighted to know that a lot of people are willing to listen to us, and we are happy to be here.
Thank you so much.
And also one more thing, like introduce myself Adams, because we both said Adams and Dileepan, but people will get confused, like who is Adam and who is Dileepan. Myself Adams, and he is my beloved brother Dileepan.
So I just wanted to start with this question, like when we think about the travel, there has to be some kind of a motivation, like some kind of a motivating factor. Either it could be for business or to to enjoy with friends or family, for some spirituality, something. Yeah. And what was your kind of the motivation that drive towards taking up this particular concept of taking travel to the Guinness record? What was the motivational factor?
So, Adams, you would like to answer to this, or shall I?
Yeah, actually, so it's all about our passion. Like we didn't fall to this tourism industry like just like the taking an engineering or anything else. We were having interest on this, and he has an interest in train, and I have passion in photographies. So we had a good rapport, and we traveled few countries and few states in all in India. So we had a good taste, a similar taste, and we thought of doing a record or any different kind of travel. So that's how it made us. So we both have a passion on this travel that itself makes a motivate for us.
So basically, as you said, he's a very good ace photographer, and I'm like very passionate about traveling. And you yourself know about my interest in trains, And so basically, I love traveling a lot. Any type of travel, be it by flights, trains, or even buses, or cars. Anything is fine. But more addicted to, more interested in train travel. And Adams also, like, I met him in Pondicherry University. Like, he also graduated from the same department where I graduated. So we got in touch, and we worked on a few small projects or assignments during our college days. And that time we found that we shared a very strong travel interest. Like, our ideas and interests matched very well, and we started off with going to nearby places, Kerala, and first trip was to Varkala in Kerala, and then we
Southern
went,
part, just
yeah,
explore.
small places we went, and we became very good travel companions. In fact, the best travel companions. So we thought we should take our interest, we should take our passion
Expose
to the
ourselves.
next level. And then we went to Thailand in 2019. And then soon we thought we should do something good, because very good photographer, and I love planning for trips, intricate things, very final things, I'm very good at it. So we planned nice itineraries, and we thought we should do something unique in this field of travel. And that time we thought we'll apply for a Guinness record, a travel related Guinness record. And first we applied for a record, and unfortunately, we couldn't pursue it. And if I'm right, this is our fifth attempt with Guinness. Earlier four, we just made some proposals, but then they were rejected on certain grounds because it didn't match their, guidelines. And finally, this was an available topic in Guinness, and we applied for this topic. And longest journey by scheduled public transport in a single country. We applied for this topic way back in 2020 March, April. We applied, and so that time. So we want to do something in travel. We want to create a record in travel. So that is why we applied for this record title. And in 2020, this COVID-19 took over the world, and India was in lockdown from March, and we were in complete lockdown in April. And so what happened? We thought we'll have to do something to boost up the courage of people to travel. And most people are hesitant. Even now, a lot of people have inhibitions to travel by public transport. And last year in 2020, we did a small survey, and what happened is about 70% of the respondents were not willing to travel for the next 6 to 8 months, and they were very much hesitant. Almost everybody had a negative opinion on public transport, and so we thought it's the right time to apply for this transport to drive away these fears. And that is how we applied for this title. And later on, we got our guidelines in the month of June after 3 months. So what happened in the meantime, we read about some articles published by UNWTO, United Nations World Tourism Organization, and other organizations, and we thought we should went through some for documents published by UNWTO and other prominent organizations, and we thought just we'll have to broaden our scope, and we should not stop with just encouraging public transportation, and we need to do something to revive tourism, because tourism is one of the industries that has taken a very bad hit due to this COVID. So we thought we should do something to revive this industry. We're doing a small bit from to revive, because it's a big thing. Reviving industry is a big thing, but we thought we'll do our small bit, and that is how we expanded the scope of our travel. We initially thought of promoting only public transportation, but then later we thought we should promote tourism, also revive tourism post the pandemic. And that's how we came up with this idea of travel for tourism, to encourage people to travel, use public transport, and also showcase the positive aspects of tourism. And drive the point that tourism is always not a costly or expensive affair. So we came up with this idea of travel for tourism, and then we planned our itinerary, and everything got updated to Guinness. When we booked the ticket, we started traveling, and at the same time, the idea of travel for tourism, we started promoting tourism also. And that is how we got into this.
Okay, so it was like a kind of a long journey just to even arrive at this particular concept of attempting and Guinness record. And the time it was not a normal situation for the country or even the world when you took up this particular task of attempting Guinness record. And how do you see that? You could have faced a lot of difficulties, because that period where you accepted the offer, like it was approved by the Guinness record officials. It was almost like April, I think April 2020, I guess. and it was at the peak of India. The COVID situation was at peak, and nobody was clear about what is going to happen the forthcoming future. And how do you believe that that you could possibly make this happen?
It's all about motivation. Like what you mean, the early question you asked, like what is the motivation? Our motivation, like one of my motivations, like during this pandemic, many people have been laid off in this tourism industry. I hope you know it. Okay, and new startup business have been completely down, and the people who joined a big company or anything, they got laid off due to this pandemic, and that itself, the failure makes the man motivated. Okay, that's true. Okay, so that makes and forces us to do this record to revive and strive the tourism industry. So that's how we came with the plan and we executed this. So we are happy to face or any challenges or problems during this trip.
Yeah. So like Adam said, like see, we are from tourism industry, and both of us study tourism. Like my undergraduation is in tourism only. I studied BSc Geography, Tourism and Travel Management, and then my PG was in tourism. And right now my PhD is also from rail tourism. And if it would be case of
if you could be a bit more louder, it would be audible.
Yeah. Okay. So we both of us are basically from the tourism background, academically as well as professionally. We are from the tourism background. Right. I completed my UG, PG, and my PhD in tourism, and Adams also did his PG in tourism, and he's employed in the tourism sector. And if you take off tourism, we will not have an option to survive. We do not know any other work, and we are very dependent on tourism. Some sort of thing like maybe he was into selling, marketing of tour packages, itinerary preparation, and things like that. I was mostly into like consultancy, creating itineraries, and then tickets. I used to book tickets and be most of a consultancy kind of job, and also doing some research on tourism. So basically, if you take off tourism, if there is no tourism, we will not have a future. So, and it is not the case with only both of us. A lot of our friends, a lot of people are solely dependent on tourism. And if you take off tourism, they will not have any other livelihood. It's very difficult for them to live. Right? You have to start from scratch. So we had this one thing in our mind. This COVID is not going to be there in the world for so long. It is there, but it will eventually come to an end. And once that thing comes to an end, tourism is again going to bounce back. So until then, the only thing is like we'll have somebody has to kickstart it. It will not just pick up very soon. We'll have to do something to kickstart it. And since we are from the tourism industry, if we do not take up that responsibility, who else will take? So that is why we thought, okay, this is the right time to go on this trip, so that people will be more interested. People will be more courageous in taking their journeys. So that is why at this time we planned for this particular record attempt. And this is the major motivation, the idea. That's why this is regarding the timing we chose it. And apart from this, if you want to say like during this time we had faced a lot of difficulties, right from planning, getting information, booking tickets. Everything we had a lot of difficulties. There were no trains, information was not available, buses were not running. The normal time what we would do is like if you want to check for a bus from point A to point B. Like if you want to travel by bus from, for example, I'll take maybe from Mumbai to Solapur. If you want to travel that way, I would just go to MSRTC site or go to Red Bus. I'll just feed the places Mumbai to Solapur. It will list a number of buses. But during the pandemic, what happened was that buses were not running, so we were not able to get. We were not sure whether buses are running in that particular route, and we never knew the timings. Of course, Mumbai Solapur is like quite a popular route, so a lot of buses will be running. But take the example of small places. Yeah, Shirdi to Hyderabad, we weren't sure whether it's not a small place, but
when the religious temples are closed, so
we were not sure if buses are running. So we did not even have an option to check for the timetable. And trains also, railways came up with something called a zero-based timetable, and they're still working on it in association with IIT Bombay. So train timings were going in for a toss, complete restructuring of the timetables. So we do not know whether the trains are going to run on the right time, and there are a lot of cancellations, permanent cancellation of trains, permanent diversions. So all this information we were not able to get. So in the normal times, it would have not been that difficult to get. It would have been easy. But during this pandemic, it was very difficult, and we faced things like the difficulties like that to plan a trip. But thanks to a lot of rail planning groups, WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, and forums, a lot of forums, bus forums, train forums. Through all this, we could get some incident information, and based on those information, and then applying our logic behind any circular if railway is based on that our logic, and with that we could somehow manage to even before the timetable was out, even before the train started running, we could actually find out from which place to which place trains would be run, what would be the possible timing. With some idea, some rough idea, we made some itineraries timetable, and it was 90% correct. So basically, some logic, and then some insider information, and then through friends and official sources we gathered information, and that was the most difficult part in our journey. And once the plan was done, and then by July, August, trains started running, and then it was fine, not very difficult it was. So trains started running, timetables came up online, so we could search, and then execution was not really that difficult compared to planning. We had difficulties during execution, but that's a different story. But since the planning and we did a lot of research on that, the execution, the travel part wasn't really difficult for us. We could manage it quite easily. So I would say first thing is like interest and desire to do something for the tourism industry. Since we are from tourism, if we don't take up the responsibility, nobody is going to take. So that particular thought, and then our brainstorming, thinking, and then the meticulous planning. All these things helped us to take forward this journey.
That's so great. Yeah. So even during this crisis situation, having positive hope is what required for everybody. Not just to step as a traveler, even if you are into the industry as an worker or any person related to the allied services of hospitality and tourism, this particular positivity is required. So I think Dileepan, he would he came up with a lot of experiences and contingency plannings of their travel. And my next question for you is like, what since you are into this travel and tourism for quite a good years, and you would have experienced traveling in and around India, and the places where you have traveled already, you would have visited right now. And what could be the difference that you found when you went very recently after the COVID situation, and the trips that you have undergone days back? What were the changes or difference that you can figure out with the tourism in India?
What's the difference? Okay, so see, the first difference that I would say is like most of the tourist spots. I have been to Agra 4 times, including the trip that we were in last April in Agra. So I've been to Agra 4 times. I visited the Taj 4 times, and I have never seen Agra so deserted. And this time it's completely deserted. And during our trip, like in 3 train journeys, in 3 trains, one was between Bikaner to Ahmedabad, traveling with the Ranakpur Express, and from Bikaner to Jodhpur, we two were the only occupants in the coach. There was nobody else. And from Shirdi to Hyderabad, we traveled by train. And from Shirdi to Hyderabad, it was about 16-hour journey. And for the entire 16 hours, we were the only occupants in our coach. Like only 2 people in that particular coach. And then one more place also, like between Jaisalmer and between Pokhran also, we were the only occupants. And I have never seen trains so empty, stations so empty, tourist spots so empty. And even like we were the sole case in a lot of places in Shirdi, and I should give credits to India Tourism because they helped us with hotel accommodation in Shirdi since they were supporting us, and there's complete lockdown in Shirdi, and all hotels were completely sealed, like they were locked. And since we had this backing of India Tourism, and the owner spoke to us personally, and they opened the hotel only for two of us. We two of us were staying in a closed hotel, and otherwise we would have stayed on the road. There was no other option. So we got rooms there, and we were the sole occupants there. And in Jaisalmer, in Udaipur, a lot of Agra, a lot of we were the only place in the hotel, and that was something very weird. Um, Even in indoor, there weren't many guests. So what happened? One thing is like it was like having the entire train to yourself, the entire tourist spot to yourself, no people to photobomb you. So that was something different. But that was initially nice for the first time or for second time it was good. It was something different, something unique, different experience. But after that, what happened? It felt very strange, and we felt a lot less comfortable. When there are more people, everything looks lively. Every place, tourist spot, a lot of people used to. Uh, some hagglings, take people taking photographs, a lot of children playing it. That gives us different vibe to a particular place. But when there's nobody and only we both are there, it gives a very strange feeling, and the place loses its soul. That is how we felt. So no, it's not confined to one or two destinations. Almost from March onwards, almost all destinations had this. So that was something very strange we felt during this trip, and we were not really happy about it, and that should change. And yeah, that should change. But one good thing I would say is like though it was empty, trains were empty, tourist spots were empty, hotels were empty. We never felt afraid or threatened or silenced by anybody. We were comfortable, and people were always willing to help. We never felt we never had any fear. So that was one good thing. But this kind of maybe for initially it was good, but it should not sustain. If there is a tourist spot, a lot of people should come taking photographs, selfies, running here and there, buying some stuff, bargaining. That needs more than just the monument or the spot. All these activities gives life to the monument, and that should happen. And a lot of people should pursue traveling and hope the scenario becomes normal very soon. So that's the only thing like I felt very strange during this trip.
ப்ரோ கொஞ்சம் ஒட்டி உட்காருங்க ப்ரோ, ரெண்டு பேரும் ரெண்டு சைடுல இருக்கிறீங்க.
ஓகே ஃபைனா.
ஓகேவா? ஓகே.
Yeah.
So that was a kind of a fascinating thing, like how even though without tourists, how Indians and the society of India is making travelers safe and sound. That we can hear from your speech. And since you said you wanted to undertake travel in public transportations, what is the specific reason for choosing public transportation? Because when we think about foreign countries, like I hope you both had undertaken a lot of foreign trips, and the infrastructure over there is entirely different, and the connectivity, the infrastructure, and all these things are helps tourists in connecting and being accessible to each and everywhere. And here in India, yes, of course, it is there. The connectivity, the accessibility is there. But still, do you think if Indian transportation, the public transportation, should be improvised, or what is your opinion about the public transportation as such?
When you come to public transport, the first thing like which comes in mind is like very, very cost effective. When compared to other transport, like public transport is completely cost effective. And also, like for example, if you go to a hill station, people will go for any good vehicle like Volvo or Scania like that, because they want calm, normal travel. But when you take a normal public transport, you can enjoy the breeze, and the experience will be completely different, and also it will be cost effective, and the people who drive also will give us a thrilling experience. Okay, and what else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like what I said, like earlier, also, like in the first question, also I answered that the major, reason for taking up this applying for record title is uh, to inspire people to travel. So, and also to eliminate the fear of using public transportation. So that was the basic cause. And that regarding the timing of our trip also is basically that, because of COVID, people are hesitant to use public transport. So we want to travel by public transport, show the positive aspects of it, show the beautiful part of traveling by public transport, interesting part of it to the public, and encourage them to pursue public transport, and to show that okay, we have done all these things by public transport, traveled 35,000 kilometers across the country by public transport, and you can also do it, explore this beautiful country through public transport. That is basically the original idea. But coming to second part of your question, you can travel by your car, your private transport. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But then India is like one of the popular backpacker destination, and what happens is like I have been to a lot of countries with regard to the accessibility. Maybe few countries may be more accessible, but India is like more accessible than what we had thought originally. And I would rate India to be like on the very high scale with regards to the connectivity to the remotest places. Like we had to travel from Palanpur to Shimla. Though the bus was very basic, it was too small, basic. Roads were not good, but then we had a bus, right? We had a bus, and we went to the remote corner of Assam. We went to a place called Namfaki, and we had buses. We had a lot of autos, share autos, and stuff like that. Though we were not supposed to take it, we didn't take. But we had buses, we had trains, remote running to remote places also. And as far as connectivity is concerned, the accessibility to remote places, even the bigger cities is concerned, I would rate our public transportation to be very, very good at it. And we have buses like in Tamil Nadu. What happened? We arrived Madurai around 11 p.m. in night, and we were worried whether we'll be getting a bus to our hotel. But 11 p.m. the bus stand was full of lot of buses, and there was a lot of crowd at 11 p.m. and buses were run departing every 3 to 4 minutes. The city buses into the city into Madurai, and Madurai is not, it's a tier one city. It's not a metro. And in Madurai at 11 p.m. we could get a bus, and it was more comfortable. And even our train was at 12:50 p.m. In the midnight we got a bus. Around 12 o'clock we got a bus to the station. So it was seamless. And a lot of places between Tiruchendur to Kayalpattam, it's a small place. Every 5 minutes there was a bus. And in Mumbai, I should say, buses are damn cheap in Mumbai. And you cannot compare. What I'm trying to say is like, see, it is not only about the outlook. You have buses running. You have in Tamil Nadu, what we felt in Tamil Nadu, in Mumbai, buses are really, really cheap. Okay, they do not have much of air conditioned buses, but then they have very cheap buses. Their efficiency is really good. They are punctual. They are like frequency is good, and they're efficient. That network is very efficient. They connect a lot of small places. We can rely on public transport. There is no problem with it. And few states, they may have a lot of Volvo buses, but they may lack in connectivity. But as far as this connectivity aspect is concerned, a lot of places, even Kolkata, I would say, Kolkata, Mumbai, Tamil Nadu as a whole, Kerala, uh, then from a in Delhi, all these places, connectivity was really, really good. And even the remote places in Himachal Pradesh, in Assam, we never faced much difficulties with regard to the transport. We had to merely wait for the 15-20 minutes, we could get a bus. Even in Agartala, we landed around 6 p.m. in the evening, and it's in the it's in the northeast, right? It's in the eastern part of the country. So sun sets early. At 6 o'clock, we came out of the station, we got a bus immediately, we came to our hotel. High fund, or it may not be looking very high tech. It may be looking basic, but then you can rely on public transportation. That is what we learned from this. I have been to a lot of countries. In Dubai, I have been to Dubai. I have been to Qatar. In Middle East countries, everything looks high fund. Very high sky buildings, skyscrapers. You have all air conditioned buses. You have a lot of taxis. You can flag down taxi anywhere in Qatar. You bring ample number of taxis. But then what happens with regards to public transport? It's very, very poor. you'll have to always take a taxi. There is no schedule for public transportation. But in India, it may not look very high funda, it may not look very high tech, it may look very basic. But then, as far as the connectivity, as far as the transport is concerned, it is really good. At least to the major cities. Maybe it may be difficult to reach a small village, small village in Odisha or in Spiti Valley, places like that. But as far as the major cities are concerned, even tier 2, tier 3 towns are concerned, we have very good network, and that was more than what we expected. And even during the lockdown, even during the lockdown, and we had an interesting experience at Ahmedabad. We were supposed to travel from Ahmedabad to Ujjain, and we had shortlisted few buses from Redbus. We had shortlisted few buses to travel, and it was lockdown when we entered Ahmedabad, and the initial days of lockdown. So all buses were cancelled, and there was one bus by name 𝙑𝙬 Express. It was running from Ahmedabad to Ujjain, but it would go via Indore, and we had to come from Ujjain to Indore by train and take a bus from Indore to Shirdi. So that was our plan. So what happened? And as per our rule, the route should not clash again twice. So we have a very particular, very clear and planning. We have only 3 buses listed. We took the 3 buses, and then in Indore we checked the dropping points, and then we marked all the dropping points on the map, and then we marked the dropping point at Ujjain, and then from Indore to Shirdi bus also we marked all the pickup points. And when we put everything on the map, we found that only this 𝙑𝙬 Express bus and then the CityLink bus from Indore to Shirdi. If we take these two buses, these 2 routes will not clash in Indore. And we are coming from Ujjain to Indore by train. So train will not run on the road and bus will not run on the track. So all the three tracks that pass via Indore are not overlapping with each other. So with the use of technology, with the Redbus, and Redbus is basically a technology platform. We have Redbus, and with the help of Google Maps, we could plot the places, we could find out the map through which the bus goes, and with the use of technology, we could plan or refine our itinerary, and we could successfully complete that particular stretch. So that is one thing. I should credit the technology, and everything is there, but we'll have to know how to use it exactly correctly. And as far as public transport also is concerned, you have everything. If you do proper research and plan your itinerary based on your research, everything will be very fine. And India is a beautiful country. You will love exploring India through public transportation. And we had all these restrictions, like not crisscrossing the route twice or overlapping parts of sections. We had these restrictions. So we're very particular with these routes. But for a general traveler, it is not going to matter if it overlaps. So we have more flexibility, and then a lot of buses, trains, flights are, and flights also are very, very very cheap in India. And in Cochin, what happened? We were a little late. Our flight was at 9 o'clock from Cochin Airport, Cochin to Delhi, and we were staying at the 𝙿𝙝 Palace. It's a heritage palace. It's in Fort Kochi. It's an island. You have to go by ferry, and there is a road access also to Vallarpadam. And we were supposed to leave by 6 o'clock, but we slept off. We started only by 6:55 or so, and our flight was at 9. So we had very little time. So from there we walked fast to Vallarpadam, and then we took a bus to High Court Junction. We ran on the road, and we took a metro at 7:30, and we reached Alua by 8:15 or so, and then we had an airport bus. It's a battery bus operated by Cochin Airport Limited from Alua station to the airport. It's a point-to-point bus, and somehow we got the bus at 8:25 or so, and they put us at the airport by 8:45. Flight was at 10. Check-in was supposed to close at 9:15, and from the international, they dropped it at the international terminal. From there, we had to make our way. We had to run through the parking lot, and then we entered the domestic terminal. It was 9 o'clock almost when we entered the airport. The Indigo's check-in counter close to 9, and we got our boarding passes by 9:10. And in another 5 minutes, the airport was really, really efficient. We got our boarding passes, everything was seamless and perfect. By 9:15, we were at the boarding gate, and boarding had not even commenced. Had it been a case with with Chennai airport, we would have definitely missed the flight. Okay, so it depends from the airport to airport, and certain airports like Cochin, Delhi, Kolkata, these are really, really efficient, very smooth, very efficient, and we have very good airports, very good service. They may not match Cochin airport may not match the Dubai's airport, or Kolkata may not match Singapore's Changi, but then they're efficient and their efficiency is really, really good. So that again, we were really impressed with the services, be it flights, trains, buses, whatever it is, we were really impressed and really good. So I would say that public transport is more than what people think. And only when we start exploring, start traveling, reading about it, we'll understand this. So I would say India is fortunate to have been blessed with very good public transport. Far better than the ones I have seen in a lot of developed countries, a lot of Middle Eastern countries. It's far more developed than that.
So it was so nice from the ground reality. Like you could come up with a lot of very efficient. How the transportation system in India is efficient. So that is a fascinating thing. And since the travel is banned everywhere, like not as such travel, like travel for tourism is banned, right? And your motto is I think travel for tourism. And how do you relate such things? Like right now there is no travel for tourism. Every country, almost a few states in India are still locked for tourists and people to come in. And also most of the countries, they have banned their borders for tourists. And in this situation, what do you think? Like in India, you have traveled in major airports and major railway stations, and you have utilized the services over there. And is India still keeping up with the safety and security standards and precautions to open up travel for tourism in the near coming future? How India is handling the safety and security issues with regards to transportation?
So if you take up, the airport, as far as air travel is concerned, honestly speaking, as far as air travel is concerned, they are like handling it well, I would say. There are two aspects to it. One is like the safety aspect, and that is the other major aspect, that is the economic. They cannot run an empty flight. They can fly an empty flight. Okay, so if you look at the fare structure and all, the airlines do not make much profit in India. Like somehow Indigo is sustaining, but other airlines are making losses. So they cannot practice social distancing inside the flights. So to be honest, that is not possible. And even buses, with the rise in fuel prices and toll rates and all such expenses, it is difficult to practice social distancing. It's practically not possible for the operator, and that is one part. So what they have done is they're very much adamant in providing the CP kits for every seat passenger, uh, giving the face shield. And whenever we were traveling from airports that had high COVID cases, face shield was mandatory for everybody. And then every middle seat passenger will have to wear that PPE kit, otherwise they will not be allowed to fly. They will not be allowed to board the aircraft. So that was one thing. And then a lot of airports, they had this thermal screening, and then a few airports, they demanded RT-PCR reports. So like things like that. As far as air travel is concerned, you cannot practice social distancing inside an aircraft, because otherwise the flight will not be making any profits. They'll be under losses. So that will have to omit it. But given this condition, they are doing their best to they are doing their best to enhance the hygiene and safety practices for the air passengers. So air travel in India, I would say, is really, really safe. And bus and trains, it depends. It depends on the operator. If you take a good operator, we had buses where they took the temperature, they gave sanitizers in the hand, and they sanitized our bags also, and then they took temperatures, and then they boarded us. There are operators like that. There are few operators who never bothered about anything. and we saw few operators who were like sanitizing the interiors very cleanly. So it depends on the operator, I would say. And as far as trains are concerned, trains are a lot clean nowadays. So how it was like 6 7 years back, it is not the case now. Trains are clean, and the cleaning is being
Yes,
done. And
that was about, I just got a question on that one. Like, I specifically wanted to ask about how Indian Railways is approaching, the COVID situation right now. Because right now the Railways has entirely changed its network plan and things. And, there are a lot of, I recently also traveled by train, and I could feel myself like entirely different. Like the services were provided in an extraordinary way. Like it was not like the older days, but now the Indian Railways is trying to cope up. Trying to grab tourists and attention of travelers. So, how do you see this, approach of Indian Railways during this situation?
yeah, see, again, like first thing with regards to COVID management is that they have removed the screens, the curtains from AC coaches. So basically, it's not possible to wash the curtains after every run, and unwashed curtains can lead to more infections. So they have entirely removed the curtains. So that is one good thing from the COVID point of view, from the safety hygiene point of view. That is one good thing. Of course, it has some disadvantages. You pay a lot of money for having AC to tire, but then you don't have the privacy curtains. Window curtains do not have it. So sun rays fall directly, and that it's a little more hot inside. But that's one part. But if you look at the wider picture, the broader picture, it helps in curbing the infection of COVID. And then they are doing sanitization things, and without mask, they do not allow people inside the coaches also. And from Bikaner to Ahmedabad, we traveled the Ranakpur Express, and we had our breakfast at Merta Road station around 10:15 a.m. And as the train left the station, we completed our breakfast, we washed our hands, and then we forgot to put our mask. And we were just without the mask for about 1 minute, not even 1 minute, less than that. At least I was wearing a mask. My mask was on the ears and it was here on my chin. Adam just kept it outside. And then a TT came in. He immediately snapped photographs, both of us, and he said, "You both of you are not wearing mask. Pay fine, 1,000 rupees for 2 people."
We were
And
posing for photo as well.
yes, and interestingly, there's nobody in the train, that particular coach. Only we two were there, and we two were traveling together. Okay, and we were wearing the mask, and we
Yeah,
had our breakfast that time. It was just forgot to put it, and it was just 1 minute. And even we washed our hands. Even the
and
water
that's still
was,
good.
yeah, we were still wet. And we explained them and we showed our hands. See, it's still wet. It's not even completely dried. And you can see like water spilled over there. You can just see that it's not even dry. And he was not in the mood to listen. And finally, he accepted and he reduced the fine amount. The railway circular says maximum fine of 500 rupees per person and minimum can be anything. So finally, he charged 100 rupees per person, and we paid fine for not wearing mask in an empty train. And just imagine the situation in a crowded train, how it would be. Like, so railways, they are doing their part. See, one thing is like we have to look at the economy also, economy, operational, this economy. So you cannot always run things empty, but you have to do seats, then go also. But then the other activities like they're taking, the buses they're taking is commendable, I would say. You don't know how to sanitize in the yards and all, but at least as a passenger when you travel, you are like confident that trains are clean, everybody is taking care, and buses are like few buses are really doing good, exceptional job. Few will not know how they are, but if you go by the larger picture, I would say any mode of transport is fine. It's fine to a great extent. That's
So
my
it is actually great to hear that the most awaited Indian Railways is turning towards the higher side to turn travelers for them. And when we speak about travel as a normal traveler, like who undertakes a leisure trip once a year or twice a year, like we can see them posting like Instagram, cashing out with Instagram photos, like doing a lot of things. He's so happy. A lot of things happens with technology. Like he doesn't have it on his phone rather than as a memory. Rather, the memory is gets uploaded into the social media. And since you are traveling for such a wide distances and for a long time, so how are you approaching towards this particular the social media, and how you are able to reach with the social media?
Okay. Okay. So we actually.
University.
When we told about this particular attempt, record attempt, we told this to the Pondicherry University, and they gave their approval, and a lot of people liked the idea. India Tourism, Tamil Tourism, they all liked the idea. They volunteered to support us by giving a free accommodation, few cash sponsorships. So a lot of organizations came in, and they shared about a record attempt. We have our own page like Trips and Tidings by account on Instagram. We post photographs there, and then tripsandtidings.com is our blog site. There we have made some changes to it to put more content on this Guinness World Record attempt. But what happened? There is one particular guide. It's not a very strict guideline, but then it is better not to reveal the route plan before completing the trip. So we had to limit our postings there, and what we are doing is like after the trip is complete, we'll make a proper blog, day by day activities report, everything we're making it, and we're giving detailed report to India Tourism, Tamil Nadu Tourism, and various ministries under the government of India. We're giving that, and apart from that, we will be posting up a lot of photos. Now we have some, but detailed postings will be made on Instagram pages, and then Facebook pages, Instagram handles, and then on the website Trips and Tidings. So those things we are doing, and we got publicity from a lot of press publicity also, right from the Hindu to Trinity, then a lot of Tamil papers like Makkal Koral, DT Next, and a lot of people have covered our event, and they are publishing.
IRCTC also.
And IRCTC posted on their official page, Instagram page, they posted about our visit to their office. And 𝙎𝙬𝙧𝙖 they had posted, youth hostels they had posted. So they are also a lot of more involved with us, are posting it in their handles, and we are posting limited number of posts on Instagram, Trips and Tidings, and then we have written a lot of big report, a detailed report about our trip. It's there in our laptop, in our system. We have done it, and we are making a very good report, and basically to submit to the various departments, ministries, we have done one report, and also for the social media we are modifying it, and once our trip ends we'll be putting them online for people to watch, so everybody can get a detailed view of how we conducted our trip. Yeah, that is one thing that we are doing.
Yes, we will be eagerly awaiting for the updates in your Tidings. Yes, and I wish all the best on this. And since you are undertaking entirely a domestic travel right now, is there any plan in future for international travel?
Yes, actually, before brother said this is our 5th attempt. Okay, which means we have already given a 4 attempt, and one is our future trip. We can say it's about a Russia trip. Okay, so that's our first plan. We started this plan, and while I was studying there, 2018 is we planned, and that's our ambition. You can see, we'll try hard. We'll put efforts to take that record, to take that attempt actually.
So that trip is basically from a place called Murmansk. Murmansk is the largest city above the Arctic Circle. Largest city in the world above the Arctic Circle. So we wish to start a trip from Murmansk. Yeah, travel all the way. Our original plan was to travel from Murmansk to Guangzhou in China, so to cover the North temperate zone in the quickest possible time. but now that was for the record, but unfortunately that was rejected on certain grounds. So now, like, our one of our dream trips is basically start from Murmansk, travel to St. Petersburg, and then take some high-speed train to Moscow, and then from Moscow take the Trans-Siberian all the way to Vladivostok, and stop at Kazan, Ekaterinburg, Omsk, Irkutsk, then walk on the ice lake, Irkutsk, the Lake Baikal, and then
traveling Trans-Siberian Railways.
Yes, taking a non-stop train all the way from Irkutsk to Vladivostok, and then from Vladivostok take a ferry, an icebreaker ferry, all the way to Shikai Minato in Japan, and then going to Tokyo, and then flying back by ANA. ANA is one of my one of my favorite airlines, I would say. Taking flight directly from All Nippon Airways from Tokyo to Chennai and complete a trip here. So that is basically one of our long dream plans, and maybe
actually this is a plan rather than doing a record. Actually.
Yeah, this is basically
because there are n number of records of people done. For example, 24 hours people have visited around 18 to 20 countries. Because in Europe you can easily compete it, but that's also a challenge. They are taking it like that. But for us, it's about not about a record, about a personal plan. So literally we thought of doing it as a record.
So this Murmansk is famous for this aurora borealis, the phenomenon, the beautiful phenomenon that happens in skies, colorful lightnings, northern lights. So just starting somewhere in November end or December, going to Murmansk and then witness this northern lights, and then going having a ride with the Siberian Huskies in the sledge, and then going to a village. And then seeing all these places, then visiting the frozen shores of Arctic. With that, will complete the Murmansk part. Take a train, go to St. Petersburg, the Hermitage, and then spend the day there. And from St. Petersburg, take the high-speed train, 250 km/h, Satsam train to Moscow, and then from Moscow, Ekaterinburg, Omsk, all these places, and then come to Irkutsk, spend some time in Baikal, and then watch the scenery, go to Vladivostok, and so then go to Japan, Sakai Minato, and then Japan to Tokyo, and then finally fly back in business class. So ANA flight to Chennai. So right, a complete will be starting from Chennai, Delhi by Duronto Express, from Delhi to Russia, Moscow by this Aeroflot, and from Moscow to Murmansk by another flight, and then it's the entire trip. That would be a itinerary, and soon we would make it a reality.
Yeah, that is very interesting, and a lot of things are in track. Yeah, I wish and I hope that this happens very soon after this gets into a normalcy. Yes, and I think we are almost nearing our ending session, and I just wanted you, as a tourism professional, like you both are into tourism for quite a good period of time, and when the situation was normal, like before the COVID situation, the scope for tourism was not even to be marketed. It is like known to everybody. Like people, wanted to become a tourist, a travel professional into hospitality and tourism. And now the situation is taking a backstage. And what could be the advice that you can give to the as a freshers for tourism who are entering the industry, who are about to enter the industry, and some kind of a travel motivation in choosing this particular industry of travel and tourism? What could be your suggestions or kind of an advice that you can provide for freshers?
Okay. My personal suggestion is like everyone think themselves we can't stop travel. It might be a short distance or long distance, or it might be a vacation, or it might be a monthly, or for example, people go for a month in the summertime, they go for Shimla and stay there for a month and a two, and they will come back. So all this will be happening. They can't stop this once everything gets normal. So we still hope everything will be recovering soon back as soon as possible. And when after the time duration between the first pandemic and the second pandemic, people have traveled, okay, and the industry has been boosted up. Hopefully, it will be ended by this. Hopefully, it will ended by this year, or couple of months. So hopefully the next year will be tourism industry field, I guess.
So what Adam said is like perfectly fine when things will keep changing, and the COVID is not going to last long with the vaccines and everything coming up. And last year we were in lockdown for most part of the year, at least for 6 months, or at least for 3 4 months, strict lockdown, and then people are not traveling. But now it is not the case. Already people have thronged the hill stations. We could. I recently saw the pictures of Manali, and I was like totally shocked looking at the crowd there. So people will definitely keep traveling, and so there is scope maybe for people joining now to take another 3 years to graduate, and 3 years is a lot of time for things to change, and then onwards everything would start picking up again, and they will have a good scope. That is what I would personally say. So there's no fear for people traveling this course now. Maybe for the people who are passing out now, I think it may be a little difficult, but eventually things will keep changing. A lot of old people who are right now in jobs, who have their families, who have a lot of loans, housing loans, car loans, and all, they cannot wait for the industry to bounce back. They will have to manage their finances. So they would have changed the industry, they would have been some other job. So there will be a lot of vacancies. And by 2 3 years, things would definitely change. And for people who are joining now, when they come out, it will be really, it will really be a more promising situation for them. That I would say. And one more thing I would say is like this is on the positive side. And if you think negatively, it will not happen. Negative things do not happen. It won't happen. Everything. Let's hope that everything happens positively. And in the worst case, everything happens negative. And 3 years is still a lot of time for people joining this course now. Or those who are in the second year, at least they have 1.5 years plus now. So they still have a lot of time, and you can develop your talents. You can master at the intricacies of itinerary planning. You can gain expertise on Indian railways, or you can become a destination expert. Okay, so you can develop your skills and talents, become a star in a particular thing like train travel or rail tourism or something particular about European specialist. If you are able to develop your talent, you will always have an option to survive, right? And if you are very good at planning for tourism or planning contingency planning, and who knows, if you're very good at developing a place from scratch, maybe if the government feels like you need to develop a lot of places to attract more tourists to increase the income, they might even involve you to develop a new place from scratch, to start developing it from scratch, and you'll get an opportunity. So I would say is like keeping in mind the various aspects, and to prepare for the worst situation, you have to develop your talents, be it in tourism, whatever industry you are, that's apart. But for tourism graduates, I'm telling is like develop your talents, gain mastery or a particular subject, at least one subject. So let people recognize your talent. Just do that part, and whatever be the situation for the tourism industry, be it best or the worst, you will definitely have a job after 3 years. So that I would say.
Yes, thank you so much, both of you. Like, I think you came up with a lot of practical things, what is going on in India and how the Indian travel and tourism is, coping up, this situation and how it is moving towards the better future. And from this session, I think the viewers and the audience would be enlightened about how this situation is approved and how they can plan it out once after this situation gets normal. And yes, of course, as a student, as a student who is pursuing travel and tourism, this is such a motivation, like where you both have determination and the kind of the willpower, even at this type of a crisis situation, you could able to come up and you could take another viewpoint on how things can be done, and this could be the take home factor for students, where they can have some kind of a hope and kind of a motivation to undertake travel in future, or kind of get into the industry as a tourism professional. And with this, we'll be winding off our session. And I think I thank both of you, like Adamson and Dileepan, for joining our session for today. And it was such a pleasure for us to have you speak in this session. And I think we got to meet in middle of your travel trip, and I think you still have 10 or 15 more days to finish it up. And I wish all the best from behalf of Asia Pacific Institute of Management. We wish you both, all of you, both of you, the very successful completion of the Guinness record, and for the upcoming trips that you are keeping in track. Okay. With this, we'll wind off our session right here. Yes, thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you, Lenin. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.